This is James Lutton for Sloth Box, sponsored by the Excelsior Sporting Club. Today I am joined by heavyweight prospect William Howe. Will, how you doing, mate?
I'm top man. How are you, bud?
Yeah, very good, thank you. Thanks for joining me today. Pro debut coming up very soon, 1st of July. It's on a big card. But first of all, before we get to that, I want to just go back to the start. You had a successful amateur career, but first of all, tell me how you got into boxing. Do you remember the first time you started boxing?
I started boxing 9-year-old. I started boxing. I went down with a few mates. Didn't have any real thrill about going to boxing. I didn't think, oh yeah, I want to do boxing. I want to be this. Went down with a few mates. Just took the sport on. And it gradually just grew on me. I was like, you start to enjoy it, like most people doing sports, just go and do it, and it's just come to me, and it's just come to me very natural, boxing. So obviously, I must have had about 3 years before I had my first fight because I was a big kid. But yeah, I started at 9-year-old, and I was only. It was a good start, really. I enjoyed it. It was one of them. It wasn't like, oh, I was a kid and I was punching everyone and I was this, that and the other. I literally just went down, just a few mates going, just to go and do it with them, really. And it just took off for me. I was a good rugby player, actually. Everyone thought it was going to be a professional. Everyone thought it was going to be a professional rugby player. I was on the England squads and everything like that till I was about 14, but I always wanted to box. I boxed. I was a big kid. Struggled for fight. I had 2 fights when I was 13, and then didn't fight again till I was 15. Struggled to get fights really that bad. That's how hard I found it to get fights. So I didn't really get a fight again till I was 15, and by then I'd only had 3 club fights, and I was fighting in the ABAs by 15 on 3 fights, and everyone else had. I mean, no one else had had loads more experience. People had had 8 or 9 fights, and I was fighting them, and a lot of them had won all of them, or won 8 and lost 1, and a lot of people had a lot better records than what I had. I'd only been that, but won them. I won them. I think I'd won them in 3 fights. Stopped everyone along the way.
Just go back to, you mentioned you started off really just for a bit of social, really, with your mates. It was just a bit of a laugh, excuse me, and then you struggled to get fights. What was it about boxing that made you stick with it? Why did you want to stick into the sport when you're struggling for fights, you're struggling to do this, and you didn't really want to get into it when you first started?
It was more or less. It's more something. I went with my pals and probably went for about 18 months with my mate. They're doing it, and they were a lot better than me. They could skip. I was a heavy kid, couldn't really skip. They could run. I wasn't the best of runner. I could run, but not at no fast pace. So really, I couldn't tell you why I stuck with it. It's just something that I've always stuck with because I was never went in the gym. I was naturally gifted, and I moved around like Floyd Mayweather or anything like that. It's just something that I've enjoyed to do, and I've just stuck with it. But it was hard at times. But the best thing was when I was little. Obviously, 9-year-old, you're still only a kid, still only a bairn. My dad used to say to me, the thing is, well, he said, you might as well go and do something with yourself and try and be something with yourself in sport or try and do something. He said, because you'll make mates along the way, and these are people who will last as your mate. He said, but playing out as a kid and going around on your bikes and that, you grow out of. He said, you grow out of, you might as well stick with this and just let it grow with you and stuff like that. So it was one of them really. I couldn't tell you why. It's just stuck with me all the time, and boxing's always been there, even when it wasn't going well. It was always there, and it was always something to fall back on. Always could go train Monday night in the winters. On a Monday night, there's nothing to do anyway, is there? A lot of my mates used to sit on the Xbox, play on the Xbox, and that. I was never really a gaming kid anyway. I used to like going out doing stuff, so I used to go down boxing, and that's why it's probably stuck with me so well. And that bit of dedication as well, and lose the food and everything. So it's one of them things that's always been there for me.
You also mentioned you played a good level of rugby as well. Obviously, a team sport rather than an individual sport in boxing. What did you prefer about boxing as the individual to rugby, let's say, with a team sport?
The rugby, I was a good level. I played England squads. I played this, played that. I played very high level, and to be honest, I could have stuck at it. But when it come down to it, I always had that feeling. I didn't have that extra bit of drive which you have with the boxing. I didn't have that extra push. I didn't have that extra that extra thing. So, but the difference between the both sports was it was one's a team sport, one's a thing. Someone lets you down on the other side. Someone on your side, someone misses a tackle, someone that, and I was one of them people. If I missed a tackle, I'd never forgive myself. But other people were like, "Oh, well, it was just this," or I didn't play my best, and I didn't fit. I could never forgive it. For me, it was 100% or nothing. Um, in sport, it's 100%. You give it your all, or you give it nothing. That's my mentality. So I was with the rugby. If someone, in the end, I was like, when I was playing on the Sundays and stuff, people were letting us down. People were just letting us down and not showing up and this or doing missing or like as we got a little bit older, people started doing the house parties and stuff like that when we were 14. When it's come and they wanted to go around there and go get in late and all that. So it wasn't for me really. In the end, I was like, I'm up for this. I'm up for this no more. But I want a sport where I can give it me all, and if it doesn't go my way, I know it's my fault in a sort of sense.
Absolutely. And just to flip that the other way around, was you finding yourself getting frustrated when your teammates were, say, knocking on or, not making a tackle, like you say? Was you getting frustrated with them?
No, because sometimes, I mean, it happens. You fumble the ball, stuff like that. It just happens. I would never, and I've never put the blame. I was always a motivator. I would always be like, pick yourself up, go again. This is the thing. We'll always go. But in my back of my head, I was like, just get frustrated with it all. Still thinking. I was still thinking about some situations we played at Bradford, played a good team in Bradford, and the coach. We had a second string and we had a first string, and I think it was 21-14 the score. And these Bradford were national champions in the cup, and we were playing them. And I think it was a quarter final we were playing them in. And the coach put the second string on. We were only a draw, and to be honest, we were on top as well. They were slowing down. They were getting tired. We had about 20 minutes left. They put the second string on, and anyway, we got hammered. As soon as he pulled the second string on, we got hammered. I think he thought, oh, fresh legs and this, that, and the other. But they've realised the way, and I still think this day now, oh, we could have been like that would have been another achievement. And I still think, oh, like because it still eats me now thinking about that because we could have actually done something at that tournament. We were a good team as well, but it's living and learning, living and learning.
So you mentioned their achievements. As an amateur boxer, you had plenty of them. You mentioned there yourself, you hit straight into ABAs after just 3 bouts and stopped everybody en route to winning it. And you picked up a few more medals after that as well. How do you look back on your amateur career? Do you look on it fondly? Do you feel it could have gone any better, any worse? Do you feel you could have done more, or are you happy with it? Are you content?
Obviously, in areas I think I could have gone better. 100%. I wouldn't say I was the finished article in the amateurs. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say I was the ideal amateur fighter. So for what I've achieved, boxing with England, boxing with the Europe, going to Europeans abroad, winning medals like that, coming back to national level, winning British titles and national titles in the ABS. I've done well. I've done well, but I was never a GB fighter. I was never that 6'6" tall stand-up fighter. I was sit on your chest and punch myself out. Really, I was that sort of fighter. But I've just it could have gone better. It could have gone better, and it could have gone better in certain places. But some places it couldn't have. And I'm happy with what I've done, and I've achieved a lot. And a lot of people would look at what I've done and think, bloody hell, if I'd won that or won this, I'd be absolutely. But obviously, I'm one of these people that I'm constantly trying to work on things and try and get better and better and better, and not try and just think, oh, I've won that, I'm brilliant. Because there's always the next thing. If when I'd won them ABAs, I think 8 days later, one of my ABAs, I was fighting on a club show somewhere. That was the next important thing. That was bigger than the ABAs, just to win that fight. So obviously it's for me, it's just always that improvement to get better and better and better.
You mentioned it, making improvements and always looking to get better. You do that in the gym. Peter Fury is in your corner. Just talk to me first of all about meeting Peter and how that came about.
Meeting Peter, I actually met Peter in France. I went over for the Michael Hunter fight, for Hughie sparring. I went over there, just basically didn't train as much, just sparred, showed up. I was always half an hour early to every sparring session, got my gear on, ready to go, warmed up 40 minutes early, something depending, because we were in Cannes at the time, traffic getting down. Straight there early, warming up, training, make sure I was ready for Hughie for sparring. If they needed us, obviously there was a lot of sparring partners. If not, we just done the rounds between us, a few rounds between ourselves. I was always there early. So Peter obviously, and I train. I used to go and do my own session if they were training in the ring. If Peter had Hughie on the pads, I used to go do my weights or go and train treadmill, my bit of fitness. I'd always be there. So I think that's helped looking at that. I was always there training, but obviously meeting Peter, we went out there. France was always there early training. So it was one of them meet and greets that obviously I've just been over, and when we come back from France. Obviously with the postponed, we started camp again. I went back down to camp, and I was just in camp with Peter again, and I was talking to Peter, and Peter was giving us bits of advice, stuff like that, and it just took off from there. Really, I was thinking that's the sort of coach I feel I need right now in my stage of career. I'm young. I'm like, when you're young, you're like a sponge. It's soaking everything, and that's how it sort of happened. It wasn't a plan, or it wasn't anything planned, or didn't go down and say, "Oh, can I train here?" It was just something that's gradually just work being together, and we've just gradually just come to a thing of working together. That's the best way I could describe it, really.
What's it been like? Has it been different since you've turned over, decided to go professional? Has your training either stepped up another level? Has it changed at all?
Yeah, as actually, because I've never really considered myself a fast fighter or fast puncher, and Peter says slow everything down. And I've always quite slow anyway, so the pros is a lot slower than what you think. Obviously, it's about the jab, about slow your jab down, pick your little fast jabs. Everything's a bit more tippy tappy. Actually, I would say it's a bit more tippy tappy than the amateurs, because the thing is with the pros, you can't go swinging big shots, everything. Where in the amateurs, you've got 10 minutes, well, 9 minutes, 3 minute rounds to get your punches out. I'd say the amateurs, it's more about setting things up. Um, you've got a lot more thinking to do. It's a lot more breathing, everything, because the rounds are longer. Even though I'm only going into a 4 rounder, like I've been saying, I'm trained to be a 12 round fighter. I'm not trained to be a 4 round fighter. I want to fight for titles and the rest of it. So the training, especially with Hughie as well, Hughie's a great person to train with, to spar with as well, because you sort of work off that pace, and that's the pace you should be setting. So that's it. But definitely the pace. Some people say there's no difference. Boxing's boxing, but there's a massive difference. There's a massive difference. Even the rounds of sparring, and the pace you go to sparring, the level, and the fresh sparring that you need all the time, stuff like that. I would say there's a huge difference.
You mentioned Hughie there, obviously a fellow heavyweight. You know, he's been there around the block a few times. He's at world level. He's still a young man. He's still got a long career ahead of him as well.
Yeah,
What do you pick up from him? Is it good for you to be learning and being with around guys like that?
yeah, yeah. Of course, obviously he's had the two postponed fights with illness, but he comes back. He was in that gym even before the Michael under trying to push it, trying to work hard. He's a great person to be around. He gives you that. He's got a good mentality. He wants to train, knows how it's got to be done. He's been there and done it. He's a good. He's a brilliant. He's world level fighter. I mean, I've been in the ring with some fighters, and he's arguably sometimes you can't hit him. If he steps it up, puts it on, slickness, he rolls his shots, all the rest of it. He's brilliant. So to be in the ring with him, learning from him in that way, and being able to do it like in camp and as a part of like being sparring partners, it's brilliant. It's a brilliant learn, and it's a brilliant opportunity being in that camp. I'm so grateful to be in it. It's fantastic. It's everyone, Savannah, everyone, and just to be learning so early on like this, and to be in such a big camp, it's fantastic. I'm grateful to be in it.
No, definitely. And you mentioned there Savannah Marshall. Your debut will be on the undercard of her next fight, another undisputed fight for Savannah at Manchester Arena, 1st of July. Huge occasion for yourself. How excited are you for this?
I'm dead excited actually. It's obviously it's a massive fight for Savannah, for the super middleweight division, which is arguably one of the biggest divisions. Um, and it's against a good opponent, which is another test for her at world level. So it's and for me to be on the undercard of it, I can't. People have paid to be in that spot, so another thing to be grateful for. It's a great chance to be live and show my case, my skill on a huge card. Obviously the big promoters are there, people looking out, other fans looking. It's a great chance just to show my skill and hone my skill, show what I'm about as a fighter, and that's what I'm happy about.
You mentioned
To be honest.
you mentioned show your skill, show what you're about. You know, a lot of people will look at you and say, well, you got your pro debut, you're on a massive show, massive platform, at a massive arena. Not a lot of people get that for their pro debut alone, let alone, you know, the first 10, 15, 20 fights. People say you're lucky to be in this position. And some people might even turn around and say you're only there because of Peter Fury's team, etc. But why should people tune in to watch yourself? Why do you deserve to be there? And why will people tune in to watch you?
I'm an exciting fighter. I'll sit on your chest. I'm exciting to watch. I give the thrill. I'll go all out. I'm there. I give it everything. I'll go punch everything. I'm not really gonna say, oh, I'm a brilliant boxer and I'm gonna be showcased and I'm like a Ben Whitaker or anything like that. I wouldn't lie. I'm more like a Derek Chisora. I'm gonna sit on your chest, entertain you. You're gonna be sat there and think, I want to watch him again. I want to watch him fight someone again. I want to watch him fight him. I want to watch him fight him. I want to watch him fight him. I'm one of them fighters. I'm say, oh, he'd give him a good fight. I want this. That's my aim. I don't want to go out there and be like, oh, tippy tappy jab and try and move around and look. I want to get in there, put on a fight, sit on my shots, sit hard and punch and show what I'm about. Show that I have power in both hands and that I am a heavyweight fighter and that I'm ready for this game and I'm ready for that level and that I've deserved to be on that undercard of that fight.
You mentioned there you look at Derek Chisora, you want to go in there, you want to entertain the fans. A lot of fighters, even at heavyweight, they'll say they go in there, they won't look for the knockout. They'll take any win, any way it comes. I feel you're different. I feel you want the knockout every time.
Yeah, you take, like I said, if I do 4 rounds, do 4 rounds. I'm trained to be a 12-round fighter. For me, it's just about the learning. Stuff happens in the ring. Some stuff happens that doesn't happen in sparring. You've got to cope. It's all about that thing, that mentality of thinking, well, what do I do? You can't panic. You can't, and obviously on that stage. So I'm not overly thinking about going in there, knocking them out. I'm going in there, listening to Peter, what Peter's got to say. If I hurt him in the second, and Peter said to me, lay off and get the next 2 rounds, and I want you to get the rounds, and I want you to learn, I want you to be in the ring, I want you to be in the ring as long as possible. I'll go and do that. It's about listening to Peter. That's my aim. It's not about going out doing what I want to do. Look, this, that, and the other. This saying, oh, I'm going to go out and whack this and do this. I'm going to punch him all over and all that. It's about listening to Peter, what Peter's got to say. But Peter's kept my style in there, so regardless, people will be entertained.
Fantastic. And the last question from me, Will, we'll see your pro debut coming up 1st of July. That'll be halfway through the year, pretty much bang on. Come the end of the year, what are you hoping for? Are you looking for a few more fights?
Active? Yeah, definitely. A few more fights, be active. And that's my aim, to be active, really. I don't want to have this fight and then have 6 months off and go missing, because I'm trying to build a fan base. I'm trying to build my career up, so obviously I need to be active as much as possible. But I'll talk to Peter, see what the opportunity, see what's about, see what I can fight on. Just really because I just want to. Peter might say, "Well, we'll go back in the camp. We'll have another 3 month camp. We'll get you sparring, build you up again, and then back." Peter might say, "Get him out next month. I'm ready to see him fight again." It just depends on what Peter's saying. I listen to Peter. He's been there. He's done it with you. So I'm happy. I'm happy to just listen to what Peter's got to say to me, really. But to be honest, if I want to be out as much as possible, I'm young, I'm hungry, so it's the best time to do it. I don't really want to have step by step and just bit by bit. I just want to be out as much as possible and enjoying it. That's the main thing, enjoying it and loving what I've got to do.
Fantastic. Well, Will, I wish you all the best. I'll be there fight night watching you. But thank you very much for your time today.
Cheers, bud. Take care.